You might think that humans are what snakes fear the most. You are wrong. You might think that the Titanoboa lived at the same time as the dinosaurs. You are absolutely mistaken. It only appeared after the dinosaurs went extinct. 60 million years ago, just as the dinosaurs had been wiped out, a more terrifying creature suddenly emerged on Earth. 5 meters long and weighing 1.2 tons. A snake longer than a bus. In Arlingling, in Cerregion, Colombia, coal miners unearthed a bone. It was as thick as a human thigh. When the experts arrived at the site and took measurements, they were stunned. This bone was merely a small segment of the snake's body. Even more terrifying was the fact that, inside its fossilized feces, they discovered the skeletal fragments of a 6-meter-long crocodile. Do you understand what that implies? This creature took a crocodile larger than a car and swallowed it whole. It digested the entire thing. Scientists have conducted experiments. The constricting force of the Titanoboa reached 400 kilograms per square centimeter. It could instantly crush an elephant's ribcage into powder. But what is most chilling of all is, the moment the archaeological team finished piecing together 28 of its vertebrae, everyone present fell silent. They said something to the scientists. If this thing were still alive today, our ancestors would never have made it out of the forest. I looked up some data, and it left me deeply unsettled. During the era when the Titanoboa lived, primates already existed on Earth. Our ancestors were very small in size, about the size of a squirrel. And guess what? In the fossil records of the same strata, scientists discovered evidence of the sudden disappearance of a large number of primates. The time span coincided exactly with the peak era of the Titanoboa. What does this suggest? It suggests that our ancestors were very likely hunted on a massive scale by this giant snake. In other words, the reason you can sit here and watch this video is because your genes are imprinted with the shadow of a giant snake. Those primates that did not develop a fear of snakes were long ago hunted to extinction. But that is not even the most chilling part. In 2017, American paleontologists, while studying the hunting habits of the Titanoboa, discovered a strange detail. At multiple fossil sites, they found the exact same scene. Beside the skeleton of the giant snake lay the scattered remains of numerous small and medium-sized animals, and they were all concentrated in one small area. Scientists uncovered an even more terrifying truth. The Titanoboa might have intentionally piled up the carcasses of its prey and then waited nearby, waiting for other animals to smell the carrion and come to feed, only to catch them all at once. This is not instinct. This is intelligence. This is strategy. This is calculated hunting. Just think about it. A snake that actually uses bait to fish. How incredibly intelligent is that? Modern pythons cannot do this at all. They only rely on passive ambush. But the Titanoboa would actively design traps. It would exploit the habits of other animals. It would calculate and it would wait. This level of intelligence was already approaching that of certain mammals. I suddenly understood something. Why our fear of snakes is completely different from our fear of other predators. You fear tigers and lions because they are fierce. But you fear snakes because you don't know what it is thinking. Snakes have no facial expressions. They make no sound. When it stares at you, you have no way of guessing what it will do the next second. In 2020, neuroscientists conducted an experiment. They showed test subjects photos of various animals. While monitoring their brain activity, the results showed that when people saw pictures of snakes, the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing fear, was activated. Faster than when seeing any other animal, it happened in just 0.1 seconds. Before you even realize it is a snake, your brain has already started generating fear. This reaction is encoded in our genes. It cannot be erased, scientists say. This is because at some stage in our evolutionary history, the threat posed by snakes to our ancestors was too great. So great that our genes had to permanently encode this fear into our DNA. How great was that threat, really? I found a set of data that left me completely numb. Researchers estimated through fossil records that during the 5 million years the Titanoboa existed, at least 15 species of large mammals went extinct. Among them, 12 types of fossils showed traces of snake attacks. This snake was not just a predator. It was the butcher of the ecosystem. Its existence directly determined which species survived and which species had to die. Even more eerie is that paleobotanists discovered that in the areas where the Titanoboa was active, the average height of trees was 30 fontaram higher than elsewhere. They realized later that this was a result of natural selection. In places where the trees were not tall enough, animals had nowhere to escape. They were long ago eaten by the giant snake. Only where trees grew tall enough could animals hide in the canopy and barely survive. Think about this carefully. The existence of one snake could actually change the shape of an entire forest. This is not just a predator. This is an architect of the ecosystem. It was rewriting the rules of the entire world. I often wonder, if the Titanoboa hadn't gone extinct, what would humanity be like? Scientists have conducted simulations. The conclusion is cruel. In an environment where giant snakes exist, primates would never have been able to develop complex social structures because they simply couldn't remain active on the ground for long. You want to build a campsite? You want to light a fire? I'm sorry. The ground belongs to the snake. You can only stay in the trees. Trapped in the trees forever? This explains a fundamental question. Why were our ancestors able to, on the African savanna, evolve into upright walking Homo sapiens? It wasn't because we were smart. It wasn't because we were strong. It was because there were no giant pythons on the savanna. Snakes require a humid and warm environment. They are not adapted to open, dry grasslands. Thus, the African savanna became a sanctuary for primates, the cradle of human evolution. In other words, the rise of humanity was built upon the absence of snakes. We didn't conquer nature. We simply took advantage of a vacancy. So, how did the Titanoboa actually go extinct? Textbooks claim it was due to a cooling climate. I don't buy it. Snakes are among the most resilient creatures on Earth. They have lived from the Triassic period to the present day. They survived countless mass extinctions without dying out. Why would the Titanoboa alone be unable to withstand a drop in temperature? I have read a study that few people mention. Published in the Journal of Paleontology in 2018, researchers discovered that the Titanoboa's extinction timeline perfectly corresponds with a global explosion in biodiversity. A massive number of new species emerged in a short period. Ecological niches were rapidly filled. What does this mean? It means that the Titanoboa might not have died from the cold, but rather it was outcompeted to death. Think about it, 15-meter snake. How much food must it consume every day just to survive? As other species on the food chain became more numerous and more dispersed, the Titanoboa, this apex predator that required massive amounts of food, it actually lost its advantage. Small snakes can eat rats. Medium-sized snakes can eat rabbits. But what about the Titanoboa? It had to eat crocodiles. It had to eat hippos. How many times a day could it encounter such prey? Because the Titanoboa's body size was so immense and its appetite so staggering, its population size might have been very small from the very beginning. Perhaps there were only a few hundred of them in all of South America. And when the environment changed even slightly, or food became slightly scarcer, those few hundred snakes could no longer sustain themselves. This is the trajectory of evolution. It makes you stronger and larger, making you invincible. Only to, at your most glorious moment, quietly cut off all your paths of retreat. When change arrives, those who are the most powerful are actually the ones who die the fastest, because they have already lost any way to turn back. But what keeps me awake at night the most is a piece of news from 2024. Scientists in Indonesia on the island of Sumatra discovered an 11.7 meter long reticulated python, which shattered all previous records. The locals say the this snake is still growing. It has not yet reached maturity. If it truly continues to grow, how massive will it become? 12 meters? 13 meters? Or even larger? Are you aware of a unique trait snakes possess? They have no upper limit to their growth. Theoretically, as long as they live long enough, and there is enough vegetation, they can keep growing indefinitely. Modern pythons fail to reach the size of the Titanoboa simply because the ambient temperature is not high enough. There isn't enough lush vegetation, and their lifespans are not long enough. But now, global warming is changing everything. Temperatures in the tropical rainforests are rising. Rainfall is increasing. Biodiversity is recovering. If this trend persists, in 100 or 200 years, could a snake truly break the 15-meter limit to become the king of a new era? Paleontologists dare not claim this is impossible, because from a biological standpoint, it is entirely plausible. The genes are still present. The environment is shifting. The opportunity is right there. So when you turn off the lights to sleep at night, think about that 11.7-meter creature. Think about it deep within some rainforest, slowly growing larger. Think about if one day it actually reaches 15 meters. What would we do? We would relearn what it means to be afraid, relearn how to show reverence, and relearn to understand one simple truth. Humanity has never been the master of this planet. We are merely temporary stewards. And as for those former kings, their descendants are still alive. Their genes are still being passed down. They could stage a comeback at any moment. At that time, will you still believe that humanity is so great?